Hi everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. In today's video I am going to be showing you guys how I drafted the pattern for the making of this very stylish Princess Anne bustier neckline. So if this is something you're interested in, keep on watching and let us get started. To draft out this pattern, I have my pattern paper here and I already drew out a starting line, which is the shoulder line. So from the shoulder line here, I measure down to my shoulder to bust point, and I'm going to draw a straight line across this point. So shoulder to bust point measurement, and I'm going to draw a straight line across. Next, I'll measure my shoulder to under bust measurement. For me, I'm going to mark it here. So go ahead and mark your shoulder to under bust measurement and also draw a straight line across this point. Let me take you back to a time when love was as precious. Next, I'm going to take my shoulder to waist measurement in front, and for me, shoulder to waist measurement in front is 16. I took shoulder to waist measurement in front separate from shoulder to waist measurement at the back because I'm going to be using a side dart for this bustier. So shoulder to waist in front for me is 16 and shoulder to waist at the back was 14.5. okay, so now I'm using the 16 inches to draw a straight line across this part here. So this is my shoulder line, bust line, under bust and waistline. Okay, so from the center here I'm going to go in by 3 inches for my neck width, and I'm going to come down by 3 inches as well for my neck depth. So I'm going to connect these 2 points together to give me a round neckline. Now from the center again, I'm going to go in by half of my shoulder measurement, and that is 7 inches. I'm going to mark it here, and then I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. And from this point, I'm going to connect a line to the top of my neckline. Now from the shoulder slope, I'm going to measure down to my armhole depth, which is 7 inches. And I'll draw a straight line across this part as well. So this new line is now going to become the chest line. Now I'm going to connect a line from the shoulder slope to meet the chest line. If you follow my channel a lot, you will notice that we're trying to draft a basic bodice pattern. This is what I do almost every single time. I usually start my pattern drafting from beginning, so you guys should be used to this. So once you've drawn out this line, the next thing I'm going to do is to determine the midpoint. So I'm going to just be using my tape for this. I got the midpoint, and from this midpoint I'm going to go in by half of an inch. Okay, so now on the chest line, I'm going to divide my bust measurement by 4 and mark it here, and then I'm going to connect all these 3 points together to give me my armhole. Now I'm going to mark my dart. So on the bust line, I'm going to go in by half of my nipple to nipple measurement. I also mark the same point on the under bust, and lastly on the waist. Use half of your nipple to nipple measurement for this. And now I'm going to join all points together with a straight line. Next, I'm going to divide my shoulder into 2 equal halves to get the midpoint. Okay, so I'll just mark it here, and I'm going to connect from here into the bust point. Now on the waist, I'm going to go out on both sides by half of an inch for my dart. Okay, and I'm going to be connecting them to meet the top of the bust point as well. Now on the bust line, I'm going to mark my bust measurement divided by 4. I'll mark it here. On the waist, you mark your waist measurement divided by 4, and then measure this dart and replace it. And for me, the dart is 1 inch, so I just replaced it back here. Okay, so now I'm going to connect all these points together to give me the side. So guys, this is it. I'm done drafting out our basic half scale pattern. Remember that our shoulder to waist for this front pattern was 16 inches, and I told you that my shoulder to waist at the back when I measured was 14.5. So 16 minus 14.5 is 1.5. okay, so from the bust line here on this side, I'm going to come down by that 1.5. so that's the measurement that is going to be used for my side dart. So I'll mark it here, and I'm going to connect it into the bust line. So now this side dart is going to be cut off. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it here. And to cut off the side dart, I need to cut through the one coming from the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut through from here all the way to the bust point. Then I'm going to cut through the bust line here. Okay, So I'm also going to cut this all the way to the bust point. Now you want to make sure that this particular point, you don't cut it off entirely. You just want to cut it to an extent where you can now move this piece to cover out the dart. So now that I'm done covering out the dart, I'm just going to go ahead and tape it down. Where if you search, you will find it. Next, I'm going to be taking in some inches on the under bust line to get our bustier. So I'm going to be using 1 1/4 inch for this. You can use 1 1/2 inch depending on your bust measurement. I'm using 1 1/4 inch because I'm not busty. So on this part going towards the center of my blouse, I marked 1/4 inch, and on this other side I decided to mark 1 inch. So 1/4 inch here, 1 inch here, and I'm going to connect them together. So I'm connecting them to meet the dart legs that we had earlier on the waistline, so you can see what they look like. So now I'm going to be curving these two lines now to meet the bust point. So I'm just going to be trying to get like simple curves. So from bust point to the under bust here, I'm going to connect like a curve. You can see what it looks like, and I'll do the same thing on this other side as well. So please notice how I am actually placing my French curve. So this dart is taken away. Now for the top of the neckline, I'll be going up by 1 1/2 inch from the chest line. So 1 1/2 inch here and 1 1/2 inch here. So this is where my neckline will be starting from. So from here, I'm going to create a curve to come below the bust line, because this neckline is actually very deep. So from here down to somewhere about 1/2 inch below the bust line. So I'll just place my curve in a way that it can curve nicely. So from the 1 1/2 inch point at the top, I am going to just curve a sweetheart neckline all the way to come below my bust line. Okay, now I'll do the same thing on this other side as well, but I'll be stopping at this point here. So from the point I marked earlier, I'll just connect it to meet this straight line. Okay, you can see I'm still trying to curve it here. Can you see how I went about it? Okay, so now from here, I'll just connect a straight line to meet the side of the armhole. I hope you guys understood what I did here. So this is going to give us that sharp V effect that you see on the bustier. So next thing I'm going to do is to go out on both sides of this top area by 1/4 inch. You can go out on both sides by 1/2 inch if you want to, depending on your bust measurement. So I'm going to connect these 2 points that I came in by to meet the bust point. So now by the time we stitch this area down here, you see it has that like V shape effect going on here. So I'm going to be marking all the areas that will be cut off here as well. So this is the center front and this is the side front. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut it out. So please make sure you're looking at all the areas that I'm cutting out. And if you're wondering, no, we have not added any stitching allowances to the side of this bustier. We'll be adding them when we transfer these patterns to our actual fabric. The sharp tip is actually what makes this bustier looks a little bit different from every other one. Apart from that, there's really nothing special. It just has this sharp tip that it has at the top, and then has like multiple V-like looking shape. Okay, so now because we are going to be having a yoke, you need to cut off the yoke pieces, the two of them, and then join them back together again. So once you've joined your yoke pieces back together again, we are going to be connecting a line from here to this point to give us that Princess Anne yoke neckline that you see. So I'm going to be using my ruler for this. So I'll just connect from the neckline, where the neckline is starting from, to where the curve of our bustier actually ended. So from here to here, just a straight line, and that's it. We are actually done cutting out the Princess Anne yoke. So I'll just go ahead and cut this off. Okay, so this area is no longer needed. This is going to now be the yoke. You can see what it's already looking like, and this is going to be the bustier part. Okay, so this is all for the drafting of this pattern. But I also noticed later, as I was checking out this bustier that we're trying to recreate, I realized that it was actually not a bustier but a corset. So if you would like to turn this into a corset, if you would like to make it as a corset, all you have to do is come in here on this neckline by 1/2 inch, and from this 1/2 inch connect a curve to meet the under bust. So from here, just connect a simple curve into the under bust. So connect it like this, make sure it's well curved. So from here to here, you already have one side of your cup. And then for the other part, from the center here, the bust line, go in by half of your nipple to nipple measurement, and then connect it into a curve, just like you see me doing like this, taking note of the nipple to nipple measurement you just marked. So from the under bust, I'll just mark through the point I just created like this, and then take it to meet the top, and that gives you another side of the cup. I'm not going to be using a corset, but this is just to demonstrate for you guys. If you would like to turn this into a corset, all you have to do is cut out the curved areas and you have your corset. But since I already started this drafting it as a bustier, I'm just going to go ahead and continue as a bustier, because you can barely tell the difference between a bustier and a corset in this particular blouse. Okay, now for the back, it's actually very simple. You will be drafting out a basic back pattern, a half scale. So from shoulder to waist for the back, remember I told you guys that for me it was 14.5. So from here to here, I used 14.5. Now every other thing is the same. So I had shoulder to chest line, and then shoulder to waist. For the waist at the back, it was 14.5. So the armhole is just the same way I did the front part. Now I'm going to be maintaining my full shoulder here because we are having a Princess Anne neckline in front, so the shoulder must be exactly the same thing as what we have over at the front. If you want to have a yoke at the back, it must be a yoke that allows you to maintain the full shoulder. Okay, so guys, that's all for all the pattern drafting. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to go about cutting it on fabric and joining all the pieces together.